while ago I recommended this book to you, Talent is Overrated. Mm-hmm. It's a good book. And the truth of that is this too. If you put yourself into something and you want to get out of it, and you're not very talented or bright or capable or any of that stuff, it doesn't matter. Because if you try hard enough, you'll get out. It doesn't require. Most of the things in life do not require extreme intelligence or talent. And in fact, intelligence and talent tend to make you think things should come easily, and they don't. They just don't. So sometimes the worst curse you can have is to be intelligent or talented, or both, and you're in big trouble. Because then you think everything's going to come easy, and then you're not going to work it. So I wanted to tie that also to arts and for those of you that are interested in that, or your art or your business or whatever it might be for you. This is a good book, by the way. I had it here. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's what's it called? The Zen of Creativity? It's John Dido Lurie, my teacher, about arts and Zen. And about a lot of other things. Very nice book. I can't read it so much because, I mean, I do browse it a little because there's not a thing in there that I haven't heard him say. I've studied with him for 15 years. So then when it's in a book, I'm just hearing the same story again, right? So, but it took 15 years to hear all those stories. It's in there, and it's really very good. And I've been talking about how Daido and Soen Roshi influenced our whole lineage here in terms of the arts, and how Zen influences you in terms of the arts. And it's the same thing. The Zen makes the arts or business or science a practice orientation. Now, when I was studying piano, and I may have told this story lots of times, but it's an important story. I had many teachers, but my best teacher was a guy named John Esposito. And he's teaching at Bard now, and he's played with a lot of famous people. He used to give me one lesson a week. It was supposed to be an hour long. I think he charged all of $25 or something like that. And these are not the kind of lessons you give a kid. These are what they call master lessons. So I could already play. I already knew most of music theory. This is like, as a musician, you study with somebody who's a better musician than you, so you can learn what they know, like an apprenticeship. John lived in a big old house with a really spooky girlfriend. And she was a lot of fun, actually, and a good singer. And John stayed up all night, every night, and practiced or lifted weights, or did Kung Fu, the same Kung Fu class did. And so he never was up in time for the lessons, so I had to go over there, and I'd literally take him out of bed. I'd go into his room and pull him, you know. His bed was literally, after he did all his practice and all that, he was interested, as I am, in how arts influence each other. And jazz musicians, which he was in particular, are interested in the impressionistic period of painting. At that time, classical music, Debussy, Ravel, French impressionistic painting, and jazz, all related. So his bed would be just, he'd sleep with 20 books. They were all over, all on impressionistic painting. So I guess what he did was he'd go to bed after practicing, then look at pictures. So I'd drag him out, the books would go all over. He'd the only thing I could do that would tempt him to get up really was I'd make him coffee and hold it under his nose. So he'd then get up and we'd go over to my house, which was nearby, because it was quieter and we could use my piano. We wanted to play my own piano. And then he would give me a 3-hour lesson, which I had to stop after 3-hour lesson because I had things to do. But he would never have stopped. He would have just gone on and on. I could never hold him to under 3 hours unless I had an appointment and I tell him. And he just would never stop. John was, this is all he cared about. Just all he cared about. Now, I don't know, having studied with John, if he was very talented. I don't think he'd say he was. But he worked at it more steadily than anyone. He just kept working and working at it. And I remember when he played with a famous band, Pharoah Sanders, is a great player. If you want to play within the John Coltrane tradition, after him, Pharoah Sanders was the guy to play with, and he got the piano seat with Pharoah Sanders, and then he got a professorship at Bard College, which is a good music school. For those of you who go back in time, it's where Steely Dan comes out of, Donald Fagen, and that group. It's a really wacky, wonderful place too. Anyway, so John inspired me to approach, as did Dido, arts a certain way. And what I eventually wound up doing was two things that I think are kind of kooky and fun looking back on them. I did piano sessions. Piano sessions were retreats at the piano. Zen session is to settle the mind. It's a non-speaking retreat that usually lasts a week, and I've been used to doing them. So when Karen would go away for any reason, I would do a piano session. A piano session to me meant that I could not get more than 2 feet from the piano seat for like 3 days at a time. So I put all my food there. I put something to sleep on, I guess a blanket, I don't remember what it was. And I literally stayed at the piano all day, all night, and slept next to it. And I would do this for 3 days in a row. And it certainly helped my playing a lot. And later I remember having, this is all John's influence, having John's influence when I started to play some other instruments. I started to play saxophones and then trumpets later. I would always sleep with those instruments. You can't sleep with a piano. You can try, be very kinky. But you can sleep with a saxophone and you can sleep with a trumpet. So I would always make it my practice to sleep with those instruments. I remember also, I had a friend, Helen Mojada, we're still friends. She was a keto teacher. She would always sleep with her sword, a wooden sword that she slept with. So I guess I'm trying to inspire you and say something very particular. You know, those of you here, those of you who watch this video, don't worry about talent, don't worry about intelligence, don't worry about all those things. If you try at something persistently enough and long enough, you will be able to do it. Now maybe if you had some talent, you could do it 10% better. Assume you have no talent, don't worry about it. You know, if you, whatever it might be. Now, and then also remember this. If you don't feel like doing that with what you're doing, then you should ask yourself why you want to be in a position where you don't like what you're doing. Why you put yourself in a position where you don't like what you're doing. Not so that you punish yourself for it, but because that's the beginning of taking responsibility and getting yourself out. And I see this function of Lost Coin as practical in that way, as well as spiritual and artistic, that you should be able, all of you, to deal with your life more effectively than the average person, not because you are more talented, not because you are more intelligent, but because you are more willing to practice. So this is all about that. Okay?